সবাই নাই এটা কি জানেন এটা হলো আমার চিহ্ন
Management integral part of sustainable city session will be started just right now. So now we'd like to request Mr. Pang Siuli, Executive Director of Pamarai SDN PhD Malaysia, to show his video and presentation. Thank you.
My local partner here flew me 3,900 kilometers to come in to dump rubbish with you today. So let me assure you, you won't be bored. It's going to be an interesting session. To begin with, I will share with you a video of our technology, our presentation today, just to give you a perspective and an early information of what we are going to talk about today.
Then I saw that actually in Malaysia we have a few insulators like in Langkawi, Bangkok, Canberra Highland, Tioman and Kuantan, but they are not working at all. It's every 1 hour you just open, because when you dump in the waste per load is 250 kg early morning. Then every 45 minutes to 1 hour, the waste will be up to here. You can load in at least around 100 kg of waste into it. Okay, when you lock the door, then you switch on the fan. The air will be going through this reactor. 19 sites of reactor down here. So when the air go in, it's been magnetized by the reactor and penetrate to the waste that just now we dump in. And then you start to heat up and then steam and break until you become the ash. In Malaysia, they sell it to the farmers as fertilizer.
holistic solution for solid waste management. The benefits of the AirShare is immense, be it environmentally, financially, or operationally. One day, and I say one day, when the AirShare is successfully being deployed all around the world, it means that we are prevailing equal opportunity to all population, to everyone, to live in a clean, bright, and beautiful world. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the video about the AirShare. Before I continue with my presentation and sharing my thoughts and opinions with you all today, I have one simple request to Bangladesh. Put your hands down if you agree. Thank you very much. All of you are very generous and very kind. My request to all of you is very simple today. I would like to invite all of you to do a simple exercise with me. Right? Exhale. Breathe in, hold, exhale. Breathe in, hold, and exhale. Just in case just to make sure that everyone is looking at the same thing, this is a horse manure. Okay? In 1894, there was a great horse manure crisis in New York. 1870, the New Yorkers were taking 100 millions of horse car trips per year. To service that 100 million horse car trips per year, they require 100,000 of horses on the road on a daily basis. Each horse produces 25 to 35 pounds of manure. This is a garbage truck, a typical garbage truck that runs around the city and do your collections of waste management. All right? Each garbage truck measures about 6 meters long. Okay? And each garbage truck takes in about 6 to 7 tons of waste. To handle 2.5 million horse manure pounds, 2.5 million pounds, you require 183 units of this garbage truck. Line them up, you're equivalent to 1,281 meters long. Imagine on a daily basis, you are having 1,281 meters long of horse manure. So I urge you, smell it, breathe in, experience that. Okay? So now that I have given you a perspective, now that I hope that I have captured your sense, your attention, now let's talk some trash. Of course, the trash that we are going to talk about is not about the government, not about politicians, not about leaders, but I'm going to talk trash about all of you. The trash that you have generated yesterday, the trash that you have generated today, and the trash that you're going to generate in the future. That is the kind of trash that I would like to talk to you all about. Today, in the modern era of today, we have a similar crisis. Similar crisis as the horse manure. Let's go through some numbers. This was told to me by the mayor and also a minister at the government, at the Bangladesh government yesterday. Dhaka in 2018 generates 6,000 tons of waste every day. On a global scale, in 2016, you're looking at 5.5 million tons per day. And this number in 2016 was forecast. In 2050, it will go to 9.3 million. I can assure you, this forecast is not true. The reason is because 9.3 million will not be enough. I give you an example, Singapore incinerator. The Singapore incinerator was designed to hold its capacity up to 2050. And the recent research that they have done on the capacity of the incinerator, that capacity has been halved. And that lifespan of the incinerator is no longer 2050. The lifespan of the incinerator will be exhausted as early as 2035. What am I telling you here is, whatever forecast, whatever statistics that you are experiencing now is not going to be true, because it will be shortened because of our urbanization, our rapid modernization. Your waste generation is not going to slow down. It's going to be fast. It's going to be at a more skyrocketing increasing rate than the forecast. So have you ever imagined these thousands and millions of waste? Where did they go to? These thousands and millions was accumulated from your home, from your kitchen, from your small kitchen, because it became a mountain. A landfill will be something that you dig a hole with geotextile, with land water run protection system. But this is a dump site. This is not, if you have not been to a landfill or a dump site, rest assured this is a real photo. This is not a Marvel story photo, it's not a photo taken from Bollywood or anything. This is not fabricated, this is real, and this does exist. So, in early late 1900, Henry Ford solved the great horse manure crisis by introducing the T model, which revolutionized the mobilization, the transportation system, by introducing the first car to the world. For our waste management issue today, I probably introduced to you the revolutionizing and the bold solution, the game changer for waste management issue, the airshow. The airshow comes in 3 capacity, 2 ton per day, 2.5 ton per day, and 4 ton per day. And it simply does turning the waste into ash. But before I continue with the remaining of my slides, I would like to establish a position. The reason why I flew in 3,900 kilometers here is not to sell. I'm not trying to sell to you a better camera, a better LED lights, or a better computer, or a better smartphone. I came here with an intention to share with Bangladesh a solution, an ability. A solution that is definitive, realistic, practical for the country, for the people, and for the government. It is a thoughtful technology, simple, humble, and modest technology, but it's thoughtful, that is meant to deliver its job. So, this humble and modest technology does simply just this. It turns your trash into ash. So generally, your trash from home, we will turn it into 4% of ash. That is up to 96% reduction in volume. From its original waste, it becomes 4% ash. And this 4% ash is non-harmful, non-hazardous, and inert. Unlike the ash from your incinerator or a burning process, they are toxic and harmful. The one that we have from the ash here is non-harmful, non-hazardous, and non-toxic. In the process of turning the waste into ash, we do not use any fuel. It requires zero accelerants. What it means is, we do not use any diesel, we do not use any petrol, we do not use any gas, and it's capable of solar power. And one of the most the biggest conundrum of waste management is segregation, sorting. The action does not require you to do that. Whatever waste that you receive, in whatever form that you get, you put it into the asher, it turns it into ash. And the ash that comes from the asher, as I mentioned, is neither and non-toxic and non-harmful. And the ash, most interestingly, can be repurposed and can be reused as fertilizers and also to make sand rigs. And all this within 45 to 60 minutes. You don't have to wait for 6 months or 12 months. You don't have to wait for days. This is within 45 to 60 minutes. So this is a whole lot of information on these slides. There are 13 key features or key takeaways of the asher. However, I would like you to take away with you these main 6 points. Number 1, I repeat myself, and I'm not sorry for repeating myself. The asher does not require any fuel, zero accelerant. It does not require any diesel, petrol, or gas. It's fully zero accelerants because there's no fire, there's no burning, there's no combustion process in the asher. Number 2, the asher turns your waste into 4% ash, and the ash can be used as sand rigs and can be used as fertilizers. Number 3, it self-cleans the water that is being used in the system and reused in the system. The filtration system that is used in the asher is not going to be thrown away. You can pick it up and just, when it comes to the maintenance, what you need to do is to take out the maintenance consumables, take it out, and put it into the asher, and it cleans its own waste using the asher. Number 4, in terms of cost, the asher is easily 85% cheaper than any technology that you have out there. Compared to your incinerator, your biogas, your biomass, anaerobic digester, composter, waste to energy plant, ton for ton comparison, we are 85% cheaper. In terms of OPEX, operational expenditure and cost, we are easily 90% cheaper. Number 4, like I mentioned before, you do not need to segregate, you do not need to have a pre-sorting process, you do not need to have a pre-treatment process for the asher. Whatever that you receive, you just insert and feed it to the asher and it will be turned into ash. Number 5, last but not least, of course, coming from Malaysia, being a Malaysian, this is a product from Malaysia, and Malaysia and Bangladesh, we have good relationship. And that is why I'm here to share with you this technology from Malaysia. So since 2014, when we roll out our first commercial unit to Philippines, we have deployed more than 75 units to 14 countries, including Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Australia, Dubai, Tanzania, South Africa, and the most recent is to St. Lucia. So the asher is not about speaking problems, it's not about frustration. The asher is about solution and delivers meaningful impact. It can be used, it is so versatile, it is so flexible, it can be used in many, many applications, in many locations, in many industries. First and foremost, of course, the asher is the ultimate landfill diversion system, dump site diversion system. And of course, you have plastics issues. Plastics is one of the biggest issues in the world for any country, single-use plastics and everything. But for asher, many countries will want to ban plastics. But for all we know, plastics has done humanity so much good, so much benefits in terms of productions, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, health. Plastics has done so much good for humanity. But now, because of the turtle having its straw in its nostril, Caribbean Sea, the garbage patch in the Caribbean Sea, we as human beings and as pathetic as we are, we blame others for all these problems. And in this case, what are we blaming? We are blaming plastics. Pathetically, we blame plastics. But with the asher, this is not an issue because asher takes in all types of plastics, all types of rubbers, and we can continue to use plastics. Of course, if we can do recycling, we will do recycling. But with the asher, it allows us to continue to use plastics responsibly. And of course, the ashes can be used for post-disaster recovery at all islands, and then in congested areas, at markets, at shopping malls, or airports, in rural mountain areas. It can be used to process e-waste, and it can also use at the poultry farm. And of course, for clinical waste. And in Malaysia, a mosque is engaging us in disposing the sacred Quran. We got the Quran which are wrongly printed or old, damaged. You cannot simply throw it away and you cannot burn it. So they are dedicating the ashes to use to dispose the Qurans. And of course, last will be the food waste. The application of the ashes is only limited by our own imaginations. It can be used in so many applications, so many industries, and to solve many other problems. So let me share with you a story in Philippines. So the mayor of this Marikina city removed the waste collection system from the city. Instead of that, he put in 2 units of the ashes in the village, and he has incentivized and informed the villagers, informed the people that they should, and to bring in their waste to the ashes center. In return, the mayor will reward them with a food voucher, which they can use to exchange for food, for groceries, for school uniform, for school stationeries and school books at the groceries and hypermarkets. Within 3 months, the villagers clean up the entire city. Not only that the environment has been improved, the cleanliness has been improved. The mayor was managed to save 85% of its original cost to achieve the cleanliness that they are having today. He used to pay $100 per ton to take away the waste from the village. By reversing the method and incentivizing the population, he only spent $20 per ton, which he used the $20 to give back to the people in the form of food voucher. The $80 that he has managed to save, he used it for the development of the village, improving the facilities, relaying the roads, and providing new infrastructure for the villagers. And this is another story in India, Pune. This is a temple in Pune. The Indians, they use a lot of flowers, fruits, and also coconuts in their prayers. So after they have completed their rituals, the staff from the temple will clean up the place, take all the flowers, fruits, and coconuts, put it to the ashes, and once it has been cleaned up, the ash is then used to make sand bricks to repair the temple, as well as making, building, walking pavements, and also benches around the temple. So these are the two of the most meaningful stories of using the ash. So, Bangladesh, what will your story be? So let me share some ugly truth. See, the ugly truth is out of sight, out of mind. See, government agencies, authorities, they will put in the infrastructure and the system to collect your waste, take it away, and put it somewhere else. You are not bothered, right? You are happy because your space here is clean. You are not affected. That's what I'm saying is out of sight, out of mind. Okay? And it is for us, for most of us, it is the responsibility and the duty of the government to do that, to provide that service. Simply because we say we pay tax. So government, you must do your job, right? And the ugly truth is, everything is swept under the carpet, hiding away. Right? This is the ugly truth, not only in Bangladesh, not only in Malaysia, it's pervasive everywhere. Government provides that service, take away. But the truth is, it's taken away and hidden away from you, keeping you happy. Right? But for how long can we do this? For how long Mother Earth can take this? So, what does the waste management, a new approach of waste management for a sustainable smart city? We talk about transportation. improving transportation. We talk about healthcare. We talk about logistics. We talk about better buildings, better roads, better lightings. But what about the approach for waste management? It is going to be the same. Your waste is not going to be digitalized. It's still going to be in the form of physical. It will have volumetric. It cannot be in the data form or in the smart form or the digital form. My recommendation for a smart city is go back to basics when it comes to waste management. We try to be clever, we try to be smart, so we come up with recycling, repurposing, incinerator, waste to energy, biogas, biomass. But what actually happened during that process? We incur even more pollution. We incur even more carbon footprint. An incinerator consumes 280 to 380 liters of diesel to process 1 ton of waste. In Dhaka rates, if I remember correctly, is 70 taka per liter of your diesel. Imagine to process 1 ton of diesel, you need 200, average 300. You are spending 21,000 taka to treat 1 ton of waste. In short, what I'm saying, you are burning money, you are burning resources to treat your waste. Does that make sense for you? So that's why I urge, when it comes to waste management, it's about culture change, it's about mindset change, and it's about thoughtfulness in what we do, how we consume, and what is the later on process. And more importantly, we should keep it simple when it comes to waste management. We collect, we dispose definitively. We turn it into ash, and this ash can be repurposed as fertilizers, and it can be used to make sand bricks. End of it. You don't have to think about waste to energy, generating power, generating electricity. To do that, you require more money, you require more resources, you require more, and you generate more contamination and pollution. So what if waste management, keeping your city clean, is not the responsibility of the government? It's not the responsibility of us, the authority, but it's the responsibility of all of us. What if we can play a bigger role, we can take part, we can be more involved in keeping our city clean, keeping our country clean, and protecting Mother Earth and conserving Mother Nature? What if we, all of us, take charge and own up responsibility, become a more responsible citizen and human being? Responsibility is a two-part word: respond and ability. You can only respond responsibly if you have the ability. If you do not have an ability, you cannot respond. I give you an example. If I ask you to go to a war and you do not have the ability to handle a gun, you cannot be a soldier. You don't have a responsibility to be a soldier. And asking you to go to a war without the knowledge and the ability to manage a gun, I'm asking you to suicide. So ladies and gentlemen, for me to share with you the knowledge and information of the machine, of this technology, of the action, is an ability. This is an ability that enables and empowers people, community, society, government, and country to respond with responsibility for Mother Earth and for Mother Nature and for the environment. So now that you have this ability, you have this information, I ask you this question: how will you respond in your capacity as a leader, as a government leader, as a corporate leader, as a corporate captain, as a ministry, or as anyone, or as an individual? How will you respond? That is all my information and presentation for today. I hope the next time when you see waste or you see rubbish, it reminds you of the Asher, or it reminds you of me, a guy from Malaysia who came and talked rubbish to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pang. We would like to request now to start our discussion. We would like to request our panel chair, Mr. Ijaz Hussain, Professor, the Chemical Engineering Department, to be at the stage. Our honorable guest, Commodore Manzur Hussain, who is the right person for the waste management, who is working as a Chief Waste Management Officer in DNCC. We'd like to request him to also get the chair. Among other discussants, Mr. Pang, Mr. Mohammad Zahinul Islam, Managing Director, InterExchange Limited, and Mr. Mohammad Samiul Islam, Managing Director, Ubique Corporation Limited, to hold the chair and request the event. Thank you so much. Mr. Manzur has an important meeting with Mayor, so we'd like to request our panel chair, Dr. Ijaz, to continue the program, and we'd like to request to want to listen some few words from Commodore Mr. Manzur.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to come in front of you and conduct this session on solid waste management. We've seen a wonderful presentation from Malaysia, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I have. But before that, I would like to request our special guest that we've seen the presentation and to make some comments, especially with reference to the Bangladesh context, the Dhaka context, and how this technology can be used in Bangladesh and what they are thinking, because he represents the DNCC, right? Yeah, what they are thinking about the solid waste management in their sort of unit. With that, I give the mic to Commodore Manzur Hussain, who is the Chief Waste Management Officer of DNCC.
Thank you. The chair of this today's panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is indeed a very important and timely arranged session on the waste management because at present day's context, environment and the waste is interrelated, and we are always concerned about the environment. The presentation we have seen a few minutes back is very interesting, which can contribute in reducing the volume of the waste in a very environment-friendly way. To talk about the present system of waste management in Dhaka North City, still we are getting in the very conventional way of waste management from initial collection to the final disposal, which is not up to the standard if we talk about the smart city concept. But if you think the smart city, it encompasses all aspects of our segments. If we consider the total waste management chain, that is from generation to final disposal, we have a number of segments. In that case, each and every segments need to be smart. And to my understanding, the smart city or smart concept means to reduce the effort, reduce the time, and make it available and easy for everyone. So how can we make it easy or smart for everyone? First, it is the mindset, what has been already talked about. If we have the smart mindset, smart knowledge about the waste management, initially at the very beginning, we can have a positive way in the waste management. Second is the collection. If we can collect it in a proper way, and if we can dispose it in a very environment-friendly way, then we can keep the environment free, and we will have a way forward to the smart city concept. The proposal has been shown is interesting, but if we consider the volume of waste we generate in DNCC, in present day, per day we collect around 3,200 tons of waste per day. Comparing to that, 4-ton capacity of a asset is very negligible. So, if you want to dispose this amount of waste, it is not going to help us in that way. It can be installed in very small units or installations like the few of the hospitals or the universities, where they can install and get all the waste disposed in a very environment-friendly way. But in DNCC, we are not just sitting idle. We have plans to do or reduce the volume by another way. We are following a 3R system and a eco-town concept. 3R, that means reduce, reuse and recycle. That is a motivational aspects. People should reduce the generation of waste and reuse what can be used for the future and segregate the waste which can be recycled further. Again, after sorting this, still we have lot of waste in the landfill. So what we are going to do, we have a plan with the assistance of Dhaka to establish a eco-town in the landfill that encompasses all processes like electricity, biogas, then composting, and all sorts of things. This will be installed in our landfill. So when the waste comes to the landfill, it will go to the different segments of the process, and it will have zero impact on our landfill. So it will have the positive aspect on the economic side also, because the compost that can be used in as the fertilizers, then biogas, and most importantly, we are in the very positive positions in terms of the W2 energy. So, number of companies have sent proposal to us to install the W2 energy, waste to energy projects, and the Ministry of Local Government is positively taking into consideration. A highly committee has been formed to study the feasibility, and we are very optimistic to have at least one in the Dhaka North City Corporation, a waste to energy plant in short time. If it can be installed, the total volume of the waste will be reduced, and the Dhaka city, we can keep it in a very environment-friendly status. That's all from my side. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. I think that at this point, because you raised some very two important points, I'd like to request Mr. Pang to clarify. First is that how and where you're proposing the action, in which applications, and how DNCC they can take advantage of this action. Like you mentioned, their volume is just too large for the action. So I mean, how they can take advantage of the action. So these are two questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your opening remarks. The applications and the use of the action is very versatile. The current waste management system, we call it centralization. The reason why it's called centralization, just like what I mentioned, 3,200 tons are being sent to a location. It's collected within the system using your trucks and lorries, and then probably you will be sent to a transfer station, and from the transfer station, you will be compacted and sent to the landfill. Generally, this is what most countries are doing. You have a collection system, and then you have a transfer station, and from the transfer station, it goes to the landfill for the final disposal. And I would like to re-justify the word disposal. There is no disposal happening here. It's only relocation, if you look at the whole spectrum. From your kitchen to the bin outside your house, and go on to the lorry, and then go to the transfer station, and from the transfer station, it's been dumped at the landfill or a dump site. So where is the disposal happening? It's being relocated, and relocated. There's no disposal. So that's my justification for a disposal at landfills. Coming back to the questions, application of the AirShare and where it can be. The AirShare allows decentralization. And the decentralization that we can allow here is both micro decentralization and also macro decentralization. When I say micro decentralization is you have one unit at the university, at the hospital. University, the waste generated from a university complex, you can put 1 unit or 2 units. You solve the waste generated by the community of the university within the university itself without relocations. We treat it at source. That is the right place. You treat at source, not being relocated. And that is a definitive disposal at source. And for the university, the waste that is being treated now is in the form of ash. And this ash can be used for the R&D of the university, for repurposing to make concrete or to make sand bricks with proper testing and also strain tests, better formulations. Or they can use the ash as fertilizers for the landscape within the university. That is an example of micro decentralization. I give you another example. One of our clients in Singapore, I can only mention this, I cannot put this on my presentation slide or any documents. It's being used at the Changi Airport. Changi Airport is using the AirShare at the airport itself to treat all the waste from the food court and also from the aircraft. So instead of the aircraft unload the waste from the plane to the disposal center and then it's being treated away, the airport is treating the waste at source, in situ, without relocation, and relocation. That is another example of micro decentralization. Now, to address a bigger volume, like 3,200, I'm sure your 3,200 comes from multiple pockets, multiple zone or district, no matter, depending how you mark the border, how you justify and establish the collection system or the zone system. So this comes from various zones, accumulated, collected, and stored, and bring to 3,200. So the AirShare can do macro decentralization, which we call it an AirShare pod. Pod stands for POD. Pod means a small complex, and the AirShare complex that we have designed is capable to treat. The basic pod stands as 100 tons capacity per day. And if we want 500 and if we want 1,000, we just multiply the pod. And each of these pod comes with a community center that also provides training, R&D, and so packaging of the ash into package form and can be sold as retail. And also it comes with a water treatment plant that is fully environmental friendly, is ecological, and this water treatment plant is not like your typical water treatment plant that uses chemical, using machinery for irrigations and aeration system. This is a fully natural water treatment plant that looks like your garden. And from the complex itself, for the treating of the waste, is fully conveyorized, is automated, and it's based on IoT to manage incoming temperature, volume, and also operating hours. It reduces exposure to manpower, and the beauty of the AirShare pod here that I'm telling you, it can be relocated. if you build a WTE, waste to energy plant, that carries 3,200 tons of volume every day, that land cannot be reused for anything else. That WTE plant cannot be relocated. It can only be decommissioned, but that land is gone forever. But the Asher port that we have designed, we can always relocate all the Asher to new location as an Asher port. And to address your request for energy, the entire Asher port is solar powered. The entire roofing system is solar panels. It's capable of generating 2 megawatt for every 3 acres of the complex. And this 2 megawatt is self-consumed within the system. It does not rely to external grid. What we can do, we can supply the excess from our 2 megawatt to the grid for the use of the community and for the people. So if you are looking at 3,000 in one location, I would suggest 30 ports in 30 different locations. That reduces your congestion, that reduces your accumulation, that reduces your waiting time, that reduces your carbon free emissions from your lorries to do collection and going around, and also it reduces your cost of maintenance of your vehicles.
Thank you very much. Actually, by saying that you actually answered one of my, be careful when you mentioned that it doesn't require any fuel. You didn't say no energy, you said fuel. So you won't require any extra fuel, but you're taking the energy from solar. So basically your system has a solar panel roof built in, which is part of the system. I don't think you actually gave the space requirement of the unit. Can you just very quickly tell us the space requirement for, let's say, 4 ton?
Like I mentioned earlier, there are 3 models of the Asher: 2 ton, 2.5 tons, and 4 tons. The 2 tons is a fully solar powered unit. Okay? The 2.5 and 4 tons, they are electric units. But the electricity, the power generated from the solar and also the electricity that is used by the Asher, remember this statement, is not used for heat generation. The electricity that we use is purely for water pump, is purely for blower fan. And the power consumption is very, very minimal, which is very similar to your aircon, 1.5 horse aircon, ranging average between 3.8 kilowatt to 4.8 kilowatt. For a 2-ton solar, the space required for the panels is 9 by 7 feet. Yes. Yes, that's the requirement of the panels. Yeah, for the 2-ton solar. For the Asher port, we will require a 3 acres land, a whole complex that we designed to take in 100 tons per day, comes with a water treatment plant, and so a community center for the people as part of the community services for retail, for research, for people to come and also actually visit. That will require a 3 acres land, and the entire roof complex is solar panel. Because the 2-ton solar is a DC model, the 2.5 and 4, they are AC models. So 3 acres, 100 tons per day.
Thank you very much. We've got some very good numbers from this. So basically, if one can integrate a solar project along with this, then you've got kind of multiple streams of benefit. Then it is supposed it should definitely work out. So the way I understand it, basically you are creating a plasma, right? At the bottom, you're using the electricity. So it's a kind of a plasma. Is it? No.
The plasma generation from the Asher is not from electricity. The plasma generation is through magnetic field. The entire heat generation process does not require electricity.
Okay, that's fine. So you are being whatever. But one confusion that I am having is that suppose there is metals there. I mean, what happens to these metals? Plastic I can understand. So metals will probably become oxides. But at 1000 degrees centigrade,
Okay, the Asher, this I may have missed out in my presentation just now. The Asher treats almost everything under the category of municipal solid waste, except for 3 types of materials: metal, glass, and concrete. Okay, but when I say it does not treat, you can still put it into the Asher. It does not affect the system.
It will be removed. Okay, thank you. In Bangladesh, that is not a problem because if you go to the municipal solid waste, you will probably not even find 1 kilogram of metals of any type. Everything is picked up. So, but concrete, yes, concrete waste will be there, and maybe some other waste. At this point, I would like to request Mr. Mohammad, Samiul Islam, Managing Director, Ubique Corporation Limited, to make his comments.
Thank you so much, sir. Assalamu alaikum. I am Mohammad Samiul Islam, Managing Director, Ubique Corporation Limited. Actually, I am on the IT side. My questions are, we are talking about MSWs only, right? But waste is, at this point, waste is air and water is also wastes, right? So what about those components? How can we address those issues? So is there any solution from your side, Mr. Pan? Is there? Please.
Using the Asher pot that we have designed is also capable of taking wastewater. And like I have mentioned, the wastewater approach that we take is very different of your conventional wastewater treatment plant. This is a very ecological, environmental friendly. It's playing with microbes, natural plants that activates the water and also the enzyme within the water to treat the water. And the water that we discharge from this environmental and natural wastewater treatment plant is in Malaysia, we classify as river water class A, which is a clean water for the river. It's not directly suitable for drinking, but you can boil the water and use it for drinking and for consumption. But that's the level of quality when we discharge the water from our wastewater plant.
What is the size of it, if you may?
The size is depending on the volume. We design the capacity based on the volume requirement.
It's not like the effluent plant that we are seeing right now. It's totally different
It's
from
different.
that.
Like I said, it looks like a garden. The river in front of this convention center, or the stagnant water in front of there, we can convert the entire thing to be we will call it a constructed wetland. So the constructed wetland actually cleans up the water naturally, and you do not have smell, and what you see will be beautiful flowers and plants only. And we can also rear fish in the lake.
Have you deployed it anywhere?
It's everywhere in Malaysia. The best example will be our greenest resort in Malaysia, in Langkawi. I'm sure for those who have been to Malaysia, you have heard of the Langkawi Island. So on that island is owned by my friend. Is the greenest resort in the world, in Central Asia. It's the greenest resort that discharges zero waste from the resort. It treats its own waste within the resort, including the wastewater from the hotel and also from the kitchen. And to answer your question, the Asher is designed primarily for municipal solid waste, but it can also take hazardous waste. But we cannot say all types of hazardous waste because we have not tested all types of hazardous waste. Of course, we have tested on paint sludge, chemical waste, clinical waste, even IT, e-waste from laptops, servers, printers, your printer cartridges, your printer powders. We have tested that. From automotive, all cars, disposed vehicles, paint sludge from paint shop. It can be treated using the Asher.
What is the cost of it, if I may ask?
In terms of cost, it depends on the volume and capacity that you are using. It ranges between 100,000 to 230,000 US dollars.
It's only the product cost, not the setup cost.
Yes, the cost and some minor installation costs. For the Asher pot, that is a whole different design because it comes with a conveyor system, it comes with a solar panel structure, everything like that. And even for that, we can give a ballpark estimation for that. For every 100 tons, it will not cost you more than $50 million US.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Or you want to add?
I had some other points, sir, if I may. Like, what is actually, are we talking about the smart cities and sustainability? Because these are two different areas that we are combining together. So, what will be our take on that?
Well, okay, this is part of the smart city. So if you have any ideas relating to a smart city and municipal solid waste, you can say. But we want to limit it to municipal solid waste now because this is 1 hour session and we're talking about that. Otherwise,
all right, sir. Then I'm done, sir. Thank you so much.
That's fine, because I'm sure people from the audience would like to say something. So I'd like to request Engineer Mohammad Zahinul Islam, Managing Director, InterExchange Solutions Limited, to make his comments on the matter.
Thank you, Chair, Honorable Dr. Ijaz Hussain. We are both from the same school, St. Joseph's, and so I feel very honored to share this stage with him. One thing that I would like to mention, which should be a wake-up call for all of us, those who are living in Dhaka city. 4,000 kgs of medical waste is getting generated every day, which is 4 tons. Only 500 kgs going to one entity, which is called prison in Mathwai, and they do the chemical treatment and other treatment to the particular waste. 87% of this medical waste of the Dhaka city is around us, maybe in front of your house, maybe in front of my house, who knows where it is. So medical waste is becoming a phenomenal, ridiculously unbelievable, ugly problem in Bangladesh over the years. Not only in Dhaka city, but everywhere. So medical waste, even if you go into the convention and any other waste treatment systems, medical waste is, treating the medical waste is always expensive. I mean, what I understand, if you want to treat 1 ton of medical waste in Singapore, it costs about $3,000, if not more. But given the context of this technology, which can take care of this medical waste, think about the whole Bangladesh where the medical waste is loitering on the street, where they don't have even the landfill facilities. And they're ending up in the households where the children are getting exposed, the people are getting exposed, and we're not paying any kind of attention whatsoever. And this is a problem that it is in our backyard and it's flickering. And now it is a high time that we give that sort of attention that it requires, it needs. I mean, recently there are a series of reports coming out of medical waste-based unholy business that's been going around in the center, in the city, and it's a mafia. It's a mafia that is controlling all these things, and this mafia not only making the money, it is making your lifestyle miserable, not only for you and for your future generation. So if it's not a wake-up call for us, what can be? So I would ask, and I would humbly request the audience to think about it, that if we just start with the medical waste treatment for across the whole country itself, that itself could be a starter as a prerequisite for a smart city. Because if you want to live in a smart city, you don't want to live in the medical waste alongside with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Zahinul. You made a very valuable point about a medical waste, which is actually not really part of the municipal solid waste because of its toxic and health hazard nature. The government and everybody wants it to be collected and treated separately. So it's an ideal solution which can be used for the asher. And the government can consider that, for example, they can install one and treat the municipal waste, or whichever company is taking it, they can dispose it of using the asher. And he made also a valid point. For example, if you look at like these big hotels, like 5-star hotels, like their sort of waste per day is probably close to what? 1 to 1.5 tons. So instead of putting a burden on the municipal solid waste, they can have a unit in their premises where they can actually process their own waste. So these are the kind of solutions we can look forward, which will actually sort of lessen the load for the municipality and also allow a very good technology to operate. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, some of you may. And my thing is that the government of Bangladesh is at this moment, from what we heard, is considering different options for looking into municipal solid waste. Anyone amongst here who have gone past Matwai or Amin Bajar know what is happening with municipal solid waste and oversaturated. And one of the things is that there is no land available which can be used as a landfill, and that is one of the reasons why the government or the municipality, the two mayors, are considering mass burn or incineration. Now, the thing is that we heard a term called waste to energy. Now, as an engineer, I find this term waste to energy extremely misleading, because how can you get energy from burning waste unless that waste has some what is we call calorific value? Okay. And if you look at the waste in Bangladesh, first of all, at home, people sell paper, plastics and this, that, so they don't really throw too much combustible material. You go to North America, their newspaper is about this thick, and they just throw it in the bin. It's all there. Plastic is all there. In our country, most of these things are collected. So what are you left with? You are left with 70 to 80% of organic matter. Okay? How can you get, if I burn a banana, how can I get energy? It doesn't make sense. You cannot burn a banana peel and get energy, because the amount of solid in that is probably 5%. Okay? And that 5% is with water. So that water has to be evaporated. So the point that he mentioned, that's what most municipalities don't understand, is that you cannot get energy from burning waste unless you have a very high calorific value waste, which you don't. Okay, which you don't. Which means that you will need energy. And he mentioned the figure, and it is quite frightening. So having built a mass burn unit, you may find, the municipality may find that you do not have the money to run it. And I'm sure you will find that you do not have the money to run it, and you will have to ask the government for a subsidy. The government might give you subsidy, well and good, but for how long? So my suggestion is that the government should consider all technologies. So right now I understand that one mass burn unit or incineration unit will be set up. Very, very good. Probably that will be around 2,000 to 3,000 tons per day. But then you're still left with a lot of trash, a lot of municipal solid waste. So my suggestion is that to look at the other alternatives. So you can also do it in Chittagong, because the whole country has to be looked after. So let's say there are 4 or 5 options, and one of the options is what Mr. Pang mentioned, is Asher. So let's, in the next, let's say 5 to 10 years, try out all the options and see which works for Bangladesh. One of the things which I am skeptical about burning, whether in the Asher or in the incineration, is that the organic content. In Bangladesh, we need the organic content to make fertilizer. So the best option in my mind is to make fertilizer and to burn whatever else is there. So one of the options could be composting, that is to use the organic matter to make fertilizer and to burn the rest as RDF, refuse derived fuel. We can even use the asher because then you have a lower volume, then you can just burn it. So otherwise you will need to use another landfill, or we can go for anaerobic digestion, which is to produce biogas, okay, and get electricity. Bangladesh's waste is very good for biogas. Again, to build a biogas plant, it is expensive. So whichever way you look at it, unless you have high calorific value waste, you cannot get energy from waste. Thing is that a lot of people talk about waste to energy because if you have a incinerator, if you are burning, it doesn't matter if you are giving energy, why not recover some energy out of that? So but you are not getting energy out of nothing, you are actually putting in energy. So all these things have to be seen. So I would suggest that in the next 5 to 10 years, that the government should try out all the different technologies, 1 unit of each, including an asher, and see which one works good for the country in terms of money, in terms of logistics, in terms of preference for by the people who are operating it. I don't think we can extend this for too long, but I will entertain a few questions before we round up the session. If you have some questions, there's a question here. Is there a mic over there, or you can take from here? No mic? Yes.
Samiul, sir. This is Hussain. Why don't we use waste as a material that will be considered as our economic sector? This is the right time, I think, to consider this one, because this is the thing that make us barrier to waste, to energy or something like that, I think. So this is the right time, I think.
Yes, you are right. But problem right now with the municipal. But I fully agree with you that we should consider it as a resource, and the organic material should be composted and converted to fertilizer, or the organic material should be used in a biogas plant to get biogas. So these are the two ways of using waste. Remember, in Bangladesh, we are very good in terms of recycling. Okay, we collect all metal, and we collect more than nearly 50% of the plastics. We can do better if we can give more incentive, but we are not being able to do that right now.
Thank you. As I have mentioned in my remarks, that we are going to install the eco town that encompasses all the systems the chair has mentioned, that include the incineration, biogas plant, then the composting plant, RDF. So all the waste comes to the landfill. It will be utilized in different ways. So if we can utilize those waste, it will not have the burden on the landfill. Rather, it will contribute to the economical aspects, because it goes to the, if it is a composting, that's fertilizer, it will have some economical value, and it goes to the farmers this way, and the biogas, it can be used as for the electricity. So it is a circular economy, so it comes to the economical cycle. So it will not be the worst as we think today. Thank you.